So guys, this is not clickbait. I did in fact fail the ANCC FNP board exam, and in this video I'm going to go ahead and tell you how I ultimately bounced back from failure to becoming a board certified FNP now. Welcome to the episode. So as you guys know, I graduated UNLV's MSN FNP program back in December, and after graduating, I told myself I was going to give myself 2 months to prepare for the board exam. I used Leik review questions. I did the Hollier review that my school had provided for me. I tried Latrina Walden's 2-week crash course, and I did as much questions as I could. And I feel like I approached it not in a way that I should have, because when it came back to test day, there was a lot of stuff, a lot of material that I couldn't recall and I couldn't remember. And that's what ultimately led to me failing, I believe, my first attempt at the board exam. Another factor was I didn't expect the type of environment going into it. I could have also assumed that it was going to be similar to the NCLEX, where you don't have any notes, everything is closed off, you're in a small cubicle, and that's exactly what it was for the FNP board exam. I wasn't really prepared for the type of testing environment. I kind of just went in early, took the board exam at 8 o'clock, and I remember it as clear as day. I went to the offices, I went to a metal detector, they checked me for any notes, any contraband, and then I was redirected into a small cubicle, and that's where I spent about 3 hours taking this exam. And for you guys, if you don't know, the ANCC FNP board exam is 175 questions. 25 questions are practice questions that the board exam is offering to test for future exams, and the rest is the 150 questions that you have to score a majority of questions in order to pass the exam. So when I first took the exam, I felt pretty confident. I thought maybe a little bit overconfident, to be honest with you, and I went through those questions, but as I was going through the questions, there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't, recognize and I wasn't familiar with. Stuff that I didn't really study or prepare for enough. There were a lot of questions in PEDS, there were a lot of questions in OB, and I feel like the focus on my studying, I focused more on such the clinical aspect than adults. I was reading up on theories and all of that, but I wasn't prepared enough, so I did in fact fail that exam. And then looking back, I don't think I prepared as effectively as I should. To be honest, I didn't finish the Hollier review. I didn't finish all of the uWorld questions that I had paid for, and I took the Latrina Walden 2-week crash course at a point where I didn't even finish and complete my entire studying for the board exam. So if you're going to go ahead and get a crash course, make sure that you finish studying, the course content, everything that you need to know before going into a crash course. Because if you think about it, if you're going to go straight to a crash course once graduate FNP school, it's not going to make sense. And a lot of the stuff they're trying to tell you in these crash courses are geared towards things that you should know already, but it's just to reinforce it by giving you keywords and things that will help you remember these important concepts on the exam. So when I took the first exam, I failed it, and I knew that I needed to somehow bounce back. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was very sad. I was depressed. I was very upset. I didn't want to tell anyone that I failed. I remember being super upset. My girlfriend and I, we went to the gym that day, and I just couldn't get an effective workout. I was very upset that I couldn't pass, and I was hoping to have passed my first time so I could go ahead and start looking for jobs. But things happen for a reason. And then towards the end of the evening, I realized, this isn't the end of the world. I talked to my mom, I talked to my girlfriend, my support systems. They said, this isn't the end. There's plenty of opportunities. And the next time I'm going to take this test, I am for sure going to pass. And so between failing a FNP board exam into taking your second attempt, you get a total of 2 months. And you can't take it within a 2-month time span. So ANCC, they give yourself 2 months before you could retake the exam again, and that's what I did. So within those 2 months, you best believe I completed the Hollier review. I looked into the Leik review book that I haven't really looked into during my first attempt. I went through all the practice questions. There's a total of 4 practice exams, each 150 to 175 questions. I did them all, read all the concepts, all the rationale. And I did the same thing for the uWorld too, because when I first took the exam, I didn't finish all the uWorld questions. So I did all the uWorld questions from top to bottom. And after that, I went ahead and remediated all the questions that I got wrong to a point until I finished the test bank completely, so that there was 0 on questions that I had to remediate. And you best believe I did read all that rationale word for word. And then last but not least, I also did some other crash courses. So once I finished all my study questions, once I felt more comfortable doing, the bulk of my studying, I went ahead and purchased the board exam. And I remember getting the JoAnne Asia crash course, and it was really helpful. She breaks things a lot really clearly, similar to the Latrina Walden bronze course exam crash course, and she did a phenomenal job, and that's something that I would highly recommend. But like I said again, don't invest into a crash course until the very end of your preparation. So I did all the questions that I could, and then when it came to the weekend of, I was trying to cram a lot of information when I probably shouldn't. My girlfriend Tiffany was telling me, stop cramming, you need to be relaxing. So the last day before the exam, it was a Sunday, I went through a couple notes, and after that I just put my notes away. I was hanging out about the pool, just relaxing, watching movies in the evening, and then going to sleep. And I felt, relaxed towards the evening, and then as I woke up in the morning, I just felt refreshed. A little bit nervous, but refreshed, because I knew that I took a day, to completely reset and be ready for this exam. And that day when I took the exam, I probably should have ate breakfast, but at the time I felt like putting something into my system was just going to make me a little bit queasy and nauseous. So it wasn't really a good idea, but I ended up skipping breakfast. But I went into the exam more confident than ever. Went into the exam, I did all the questions one by one, took my time, went back, flagged the questions that I wasn't sure of, took a look at it one more time, changed some answers here and there, and then I had about 10 to 15 minutes left of the exam before I hit submit. And the scariest thing happened, guys, when I submitted the exam. Everything went blank, because usually after you take the exam, you're supposed to be notified of your results right away in front of you in a screen, but it didn't work out that way. It went straight to blank, and then I went up to the proctor and said, "Hey, my test just stopped all of a sudden. Did something happen? Did I fail the exam?" I was scared for my life, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So the proctor, reassured me that I will be getting my questions right after in an email. So I got those questions in an email. I walked straight to my car, opened up, and then sure enough, I got the results was in there in a subject line. And then, I took some time. I took a deep breath. I was thinking to myself, I hope I pass this attempt this time around. Opened the email, then sure enough, I got the notification that I passed the FNP board exam. And I remember being super happy. I was super ecstatic. And I called my girlfriend. I called my mom right away. And I was just super happy. It was just a breath of fresh air. So, just reflecting on how everything went from graduating to taking it on my first attempt to taking on my second attempt, I definitely would have approached this, a lot more differently. Had I, took the time to go through every question, every rationale, had I not slacked off and I hadn't, procrastinated, I think that the outcome would have been a lot better in my first attempt. So I highly recommend you guys that you finish all of your questions, you do all the prep courses that your school gives you, because it's free essentially, before deciding to invest in other expensive programs. And then at the very end, when you feel more ready and prepared, that's when I would suggest doing a crash course, because the crash course will just pull together, piece everything together that you learned, from your review. It'll start giving you keywords, and things will fall together and make a lot of sense. So that is my advice, and this is coming from a horrible test taker. I am not the best test taker in the world. Tests, in fact, drive me nuts, and I wasn't the best during nursing school. So if I can pass this exam, I am sure that you guys can pass your exam too as well. And if you take these tips into consideration, find a review program that's good for you. I have no doubt that you're going to pass your exam. Another thing too that I would recommend is that ANCC had just released a preparation type exam, a readiness exam. And the purpose of the readiness exam is an opportunity for you to go to the testing center to get a scope of the environment and take a practice course. And the exam will tell you whether or not you're ready to take the test or you're not ready yet. So that's something that wasn't offered to me when I took the exam. So if that's something that's available to you guys, I highly recommend taking that before taking your FNP board exam, and it will help you guys succeed, and I know that you guys will succeed as well. I hope this video helps, guys. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks. If you guys have any additional questions, go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll try to address it right away. Or if you want to have a question for me privately, send me a direct message to my Instagram at CMoneyRN, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and take care.